lot of rappers have been sent behind bars throughout their careers. Drugs, firearms, gang affiliations, you name it. The only thing more surprising than the crimes committed is who did them in the first place. Let's take a look at 10 rappers who you probably never knew have been to jail. Starting off with number 10 is a rapper most likely to be busted carrying the one plant that he's made a living off of. Wiz Khalifa, judging by his personality as the only person who's likely to outsmoke Snoop Dogg, could only be arrested for one thing. After co-headlining the 4th annual Neon Desert Music Festival, Khalifa was arrested at El Paso International Airport on suspicion of possessing marijuana. He also failed to provide a form of identification at the Transportation Security Administration's checkpoint. This was when he was sent inside for a thorough screening. Airport security found a metal container inside a backpack which he used to store all the marijuana. Now, many people, including a ton of his fans, are against arrests on marijuana charges. When they found out that Khalifa was arrested for carrying less than a gram of weed, they were furious. But the rapper kept his cool and even posted a jail selfie to entertain the fans. He then tweeted saying they're trying to figure out how many grams he had. The most ironic part is that the arrest happened right before he was set to release his mixtape called 28 Grams. Now, if he was caught with that much pot instead of like 2 ounces, then the arrest and reaction by security would have been believable. Fans pushed for the hashtag #FreeTrapWiz. Luckily, he made bail of just $300 and was out by noon the same day. Being a heavy enthusiast of the devil's lettuce is a risky game, especially when you have the same fame as Wiz. He's already been in trouble with the law for this in the last couple of years and was arrested twice in North Carolina. Drug possession is one of the main reasons most of these rappers are arrested. The one thing other than that is illegally carrying a weapon, something these artists are proud to own, especially in their music videos. At number 9, we have a rapper that may come as a shock to you because, believe it or not, the late rapper Mac Miller was arrested too. Early in 2018, the 26-year-old was slapped with a DUI and hit and run after he hit a power pole with his Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon. As expensive as the car is and the damages that came with it, Mac felt invincible because of his reputation as a world-famous musician. This happened a few days after he broke up with Ariana Grande after almost 2 years of being together. When the G-Wagon struck the pole, they didn't call the police to deal with the damages or anything. Mac and his friends hopped out of the vehicle and ran back to his nearby home. The cops found the wrecked car and traced the owner back to the rapper where they checked his blood alcohol level. Miller blew more than twice the legal limit and was immediately handcuffed and taken into custody. But turns out, he's genuinely a kind-hearted person. A source said that he was the most polite and nice intoxicated person the police had ever seen. Mac was held on a $15,000 bail prior to his release and was set to appear in court on June 7th the same year. 2018 was a rough year for the rapper. The DUI was proof that he wasn't doing well. Just 4 months later, he was found dead after overdosing on a combination of cocaine, alcohol, and fentanyl. Moving on to a more familiar face at number 8, we have 2 Chainz, who was one out of 11 people arrested in Oklahoma City back in August 2013. After performing in Lollapalooza alongside Lil Wayne and T.I., he and his crew were driving home at around midnight when a police officer named Sergeant Jennifer Wardlow stopped them because of an illegal taillight. The problem was that she also noticed drug use inside the vehicle. The driver was the first to get arrested as he got off the bus. The interior door shut and locked everyone inside. Now, instead of abiding by police demands, 2 Chainz and his crew refused to open the door and get out. They knew that they would get arrested and hoped Sergeant Wardlow would just give up and leave. But the Oklahoma police weren't going to leave that easily. The tour bus was towed to a nearby police training facility, which was around 4 miles away from the interstate they were stopped at. The vehicle was stopped at around midnight, and all 11 people came off the bus 9 hours later at 9 a.m. Each and every single one was arrested on the obstruction charge, and this included the Atlanta rapper too. But this wasn't the first time 2 Chainz has been arrested. He revealed that he's been behind bars more times than he can count.
And just like been walking down the street, I call it paycation. Right. So I'll get booked in, Dubai, and then I'll be like, yo, cap my mama down, my wife, put my whole family, we all gone, we gonna stay week out. Yeah, everything. We kick that, so I go, do my show, get paid, and stay.
Got you.
And that's my paycation. But I'm not just having time to go. And there's nothing wrong with decompressing. Maybe I do need that, but I ain't had time to just really go to no beach and lay out.
Right, 2 Chainz, come on, man.
Really, this isn't, really, people don't understand. Really, I really enjoy working every night. I would not know what to do if I didn't have nothing to do.
Really?
I would not know what to do.
You probably buy tanks and shit and fuck up.
That type of shit is what that's what I do when I don't have anything.
Wildlife.
This don't make no sense. Y'all don't even know, man. I be in the back doing the most. I mean, I be in the back doing some of the most. If people had a hidden camera in my backyard, I'd be like, yo, dude is wigged out back there. I be having a lot of little obstacle courses and everything going on.
Like he said, 2 Chainz also pleaded guilty to misdemeanor possession of a controlled substance after he was arrested at Los Angeles International Airport back in May 2014. When security checked his baggage, they found the ingredients one would need to make lean, which is an illegal drink that uses cough syrup. Carrying drugs at an airport is a very risky move, and some might even call it a dumb one too. But in 2014, 2 Chainz wasn't the only rapper busted for dealing with illegal substances. The next rapper's downfall is more of a tragedy, to say the least. At number 7, we'll be taking a look at Fetty Wap and the decision that cost his career. The Trap Queen star made the Song of the Summer back in 2014 and made sure that his name would be remembered by many with his future tracks. Singles like My Way with Monty and 679 were bangers that had the club shaking, all from his self-titled album. But it all came crashing down because the bills were getting too much for him to handle. After his instant success, he wasn't making the streams he'd hoped for a few years later. To make things worse, the pandemic worsened his financial condition.
I remember that shit like yesterday. I took out $100,000 and I was about to Cali. And when I landed I was flying to Cali. And when I landed out there, because we was doing my daughter's birthday that weekend, I think, and I went to the bank again, and that shit was like, hold. And I'm like, what the do that mean? Like,
so you try to take money out and they're like, oh no, there's a hold on it.
Yeah, and then I went to call to my other account, like, yo, can you send me this? He's like, yo, bro, I gotta talk to you. And I'm like, what you talking about? And yeah, so I think for 6 months, I was broke.
Live performances were put to a halt, but the bills kept piling up. The worst part is that he supported a lot of family members and friends financially after his $1 million status. So, what did the father of 6 do to support his own family? He resorted to trafficking drugs so everyone around him could maintain the lavish and comfortable lifestyle. In May 2023, Fetty pleaded guilty to conspiracy to distribute over 500 grams of cocaine. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison with 5 years of probation. This was followed by his 2021 arrest and an initial not guilty plea. During his sentencing, he told the judge that he only ever wanted to help his family. He never asked himself if it was all the way right. Fetty tried his best to tell the judge and jury that he was just a man trying to provide for his family. When Fetty started trafficking drugs, he thought it was the easy way out of financial ruin. But just because he's behind bars doesn't mean he stopped releasing music. He recently released King Zoo in 2023 and said that he's been writing a lot more music because there's not much to do in prison. At number 6, Kid Cudi made the headlines in 2010 after he was arrested in New York. This was back when he was going through a very rough patch in his life. He was arrested on charges of criminal mischief and criminal possession of a controlled substance. It all started when Cudi reportedly smashed a woman's phone and wrecked her apartment. He was then caught with drugs, and the police ruled out that this is what caused the aggressive reaction by the rising star. But this wasn't the first time Kanye's protege dabbled with the law. In 2009, he punched a fan who threw a wallet on stage at a show in Vancouver. He was also held at gunpoint by Los Angeles police after they mistook him for a reported looter. But after all these years, Cudi has been on a path of redemption and growth. He's made music that inspires millions around the world and helps them through the toughest times of their lives. As compared to the wallet incident in 2009, let's just say his reaction to getting thrown things at him on stage has gotten a lot less violent. The 5th rapper on this list is a case you're probably familiar with. A lot of people know that Tory Lanez lost the case to Megan Thee Stallion and is currently in prison. But do you know the whole story behind it? On July 12, 2020, the two were coming back from Kylie Jenner's pool party when Megan faced one of the most traumatizing experiences of her life. It took 8 days for her to report the crime and report that Lanez shot her in the foot. Megan realized that Tory's publicists and managers were trying to flip the narrative to journalists. She hopped onto Instagram Live to tell her side of the story.
So, since y'all hoes so worried about it, yes, this Tory shot me. You shot me. And you got your publicists and your people going to these blogs lying and stop lying. Why lie? I don't understand. I tried to keep the situation off the internet, but you dragging it. You really dragging it. Talking about I hit this. I never hit you. It was like, oh, she mad because he's trying to fuck with Kylie. No, I wasn't. Like, you dry shot me. Like, everybody in the car, it's only 4 in the car. Me, you, my homegirl, and your security. Everybody in the car arguing. I'm in the front seat. This in the back seat. I get out the car. I'm done arguing. I don't want to argue no more. I get out. I'm walking away. This from out the back seat of the car started shooting me. You shot me. I ain't get cut by no glass, but let me tell you why they saying that.
At first, Lanes was charged with carrying a concealed weapon in a vehicle and wasn't arrested for allegedly shooting Megan. This was because the Los Angeles Police Department just couldn't find enough evidence to bust Tory and find him guilty. The lack of proof and evidence is what made the whole situation controversial. Fans didn't believe Megan and supported Tory. Reports even claimed that the surgery she underwent on her foot was because of the glass, not the bullets. People also questioned the week it took for her to report the incident, but according to Megan, LAPD were being too aggressive. But to everyone's shock, Tory was charged with felony assault and gun charges on October 8, 2020. The twist is that it was a completely different incident. Megan's story was starting to become more believable, and she was invited to interviews to tell her side of the story.
It was an argument because I was ready to go and everybody else wasn't ready to go. But that's like normal friend stuff. Like, we fuss about silly stuff all the time. But I never put my hands on anybody. I never raised my voice too loud. Like, this was one of them times where it was like, it shouldn't have got this crazy.
It shouldn't have escalated to the way that it did.
So I get out the car and it's like everything happens so fast. And all I hear is this man screaming, he said, dance, and he started shooting. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, he shot a couple of times. And I was so scared.
So is he in the car shooting from the car, Megan?
He is standing up over the window shooting. And I didn't even want to move. I didn't want to move too quick, like, cause I'm like, oh my God, if I take the wrong step, I don't know if he can shoot something that's like super important. I don't know if he could shoot me and kill me. Like,
were you afraid for your life at that time?
I was really scared because I had never been shot at before.
So Lanes took matters into his own hands and shared his side of the story on IG Live.
When this whole debacle, or whatever you call it, came about, the whole time it's like, she knows what happened, I know what happened, and we know that what you're saying and what the alleged things and the alleged accusations of my name is are not true. It's falsified information, it's false information, and it's not accurate information.
3 years after the incident, Lanes was sentenced to 10 years in prison for shooting and wounding Megan. A lot of people, including his father, were mad at the decision, but it's what Tory had come to after being so reckless with a firearm. But Tory Lanez' story is something most of you know about already. How would you react if one of the most influential rappers of the 90s was once behind bars too? At number 4, Tupac Shakur will have you questioning everything you know about some of your favorite artists. One of the most iconic and influential faces of the 1990s had to do some jail time in the height of his career. Why? A month after the release of his third studio album, Me Against the World, Tupac was sentenced to 1.5 to 4.5 years in prison after he was found guilty for assaulting a fan named Ayanna Jackson. She claimed that she was getting intimate with Pac a few days before the assault and abuse, but when she met him at the Parker Meridian Hotel in New York City, she was surprised by him and a group of his friends who then proceeded to assault her. Pac denied the allegations and said that everything that happened between the two of them was completely consensual.
The girl who claims that, what did she claim? can't even say it, man.
Okay. But technically it's a rape case.
I wasn't convicted of no rape charge. My charge was sexual abuse, forcibly touching the buttocks.
I have females saying that. I can't say it, but it just bothers me so much, you know what I'm saying? To go through my life and everything I did in my life coming out of a family and a household with just women, to get to this point, to have a woman said I took something from her.
The police, however, found every bit of evidence to lock the rapper up. On February 7, 1995, he was found guilty and sentenced to prison. Something that was about to take years from his life only took 9 months, because on October 12, 1995, he was released on a bail that cost $1.4 million. Who paid for his release? Oh, just the boogeyman of the West Coast Suge Knight. In return for freeing him, Pac released 3 records under his label Death Row Records. But fans can only think what would have happened if Pac just finished his sentence. Less than a year after he was released, he was shot and killed in Las Vegas. This was all part of the West Coast-East Coast rivalry, and the hit was orchestrated by none other than Sean Diddy Combs. On September 13, 1996, Tupac Shakur was shot in a drive by shooting at just the age of 25. He had a long way to go in his career and would have gone down as one of the greatest and most influential rappers in history. But Suge was in a hurry to make more money and released him from prison, brushing all of Pac's controversy under the rug for no one to know. Speaking of legends, at number 3, we'll be taking a look at Lil Wayne and how he was almost sentenced to a decade in prison. In 2019, his private jet was searched in Miami. Police for a gold-plated handgun in his luggage, which was allegedly a Father's Day gift. This would have been legal, but the thing is, he just spent 8 months at Rikers Island Jail on a weapons charge, prohibiting him from possessing a firearm. Carrying one violates a lot of his terms, but he wasn't accused of being a dangerous person. The gun wasn't fired either, nor was there any threat to use it. But the fact that Wayne was under the influence on something that clearly wasn't alcohol made his situation even worse. The FBI reported that his speech was delayed, slurred, and his eyes were barely opened. He ended up pleading guilty in federal district court to illegally possessing a loaded, gold-plated .45 caliber handgun, but the bag that the gun was in also had illegal substances like cocaine, ecstasy, and oxycodone. Wayne would have been behind bars for 10 years if it wasn't for the unlikeliest of presidents.
Rapper Lil Wayne.
Donald Trump pardoned the rapper and granted him clemency as a last-minute spree before he had to exit his post. Even though it was controversial, Wayne still posted a picture with the former president and even endorsed him. It's honestly the best thing that ever happened to Weezy. When he was in Rikers Island, he found jail to be a hellhole and wouldn't wish anyone to be sent there. It changed him, his personality, his music, and his career. If it wasn't for Trump, Wayne would have easily lost his mind if he was sentenced for 10 years. Up next at number 2, we have the woman who topped Apple's Top 100 list of the greatest albums of all time. On May 6, 2013, Grammy-winning singer Lauryn Hill was sentenced to 3 months in prison and an additional 3 months in home confinement for failing to pay taxes. How much did she owe the IRS? She failed to pay more than $2.3 million in income by intentionally failing to file tax returns for 5 years. Before the sentencing, her attorney said that she paid more than $970,000 to make sure the state doesn't punish her too much. Hill explained that she would eventually pay the taxes but couldn't because she had retired as a musician to raise her children. After pleading guilty, her lawyer wanted probation for her and talked about her charitable work, philanthropy, and family background in court. This was to lessen the severity of the sentencing and show everyone that the artist was not a criminal. Everything that she did was for her family, and she never expected the critical acclaim her album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, would receive. The fame got to her head very quickly and trusted almost no one in her close circles. She dipped from the public eye so that she and her family could remain safe, away from paparazzi, evil record label owners, and drama in the music industry. Lauryn Hill's arrest was perhaps the most surprising one of the past decade. The most unexpected, however, was probably when Travie McCoy from Gym Class Heroes was cuffed in 2010 for the most random crime ever. The Berlin police arrested the artist for spraying graffiti on the Berlin Wall. The irony of this is that Travie was boasting about it on his Twitter. Back in 2010, he was in the city for a gig at the Magnet Club. To pass the time, he paid a visit to Berlin's East Side Gallery and vandalized the wall. Even though hundreds of other people have already spray painted on it, the Gym Class Heroes frontman was at the wrong place at the wrong time. The police took McCoy and a 28-year-old accomplice into custody. He ended up getting released on a $2,000 bail and managed to continue his European tour in Amsterdam. Finding out that the man behind one of the most famous songs on the radio in the early 2010s was arrested was a shock to many. But it was an even bigger surprise when the crowds at his concerts weren't the most supportive and progressive of people. In 2009, a fan from the crowd at St. Louis called McCoy a racial slur, to which he politely asked to repeat himself. Before the fan could finish his sentence, security had to forcefully remove the fan from the crowd. Travis got down and hit the man with his microphone so hard that it broke. After that, he hopped back on stage and apologized to the audience for his actions. He said, "I'm sorry, but when someone calls you something that ignorant and that offensive, you have to bash their head in with a microphone." Later that day, he was arrested on stage by the end of the set, but was released the following morning on a $500 bond. His manager publicly stated that the fan hit McCoy's knee first, which caused him to go down and break his microphone on the fan's head. It looks like the band is far from heroic, as their name says. The drummer, Matt McGinley, was arrested in Mexico and detained overnight because he was a suspect of a breaking and entering incident. Turns out he was intoxicated and stumbled into a private condominium. Who would have thought that these artists were anything but responsible when it came to fame, fortune, and managing their anger? Which rapper's arrest shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more content. See you in the next one.